Hail friends, welcome to another SAGA Thursday. Today is part 2 of our Steppe Tribes review with Kevvy B. And I don't see any point in jabbering on. Let's check it out.
Moving on to Steppe people. So this is the first ability that I've seen that any old regular peasant Joe slave can do. Roll a number of extra SAGA dice equal to your current number of warrior units. Wow. Holy shit, that's pretty good.
Yeah, this one's got some juice to it.
Yeah, even if you're... Oh, wow. Yeah, that's good. I'm thinking about some of the other warbands I play, and the for the Anglo-Saxons, that's each unit of 10 or more guys, which is pretty tough. This is just warrior units. So if you're running lots of little dinky warrior units, you roll a rare. You're still, yeah, that's awesome. That's a good ability. Wow.
Yeah, and because the composite bow abilities really push your units to be 6 or less, you're usually rocking 4, 5, 6 units of warriors, which means it's really easy to use deadly planes, knowing you have a reindeer on steppe people, and then be able to roll that up so that you can kind of get all of your dice back to be able to activate people for movement.
Sure. True. Yeah, anything in orders can be burned and then regained later during that same phase. So that's cool. It's interesting that it specifically doesn't say Hearthguard. So it's kind of another thing. You know, you needed some bodies to fulfill like that levy rule where you have to have more mounted dudes than foot guys. So this is another thing kind of pushing your warband construction in that direction. Interesting. Okay.
I'm going to read the fluff for that a little bit, because it's really kind of nice. So steppe soldiers were ferociously independent and likely to take many personal initiatives on the battlefield. The Kagans kept a close eye on his nobles for fear that they could overthrow him. But this ability represents the behavior and allows you to benefit from the creative spirit of your warriors.
Oh, that's cool. A little bit of fluff there, explaining it, justifying, so they could cut down on the emails they get from everybody asking why the Hearthguard don't get it.
Yep.
Okay, cool. Next one.
Gone!
Gone! Okay, activation ability. 2 common snakes. Activate for shooting all your levy units that are within M of your warlord. Each of these units gain 3 attack dice again during step 2 of the shooting. Okay, that's pretty good. How many... a 12-man unit of levy would be 6... Is it 2 for 1 again on those guys with shooting? 6?
Yep.
So that boosts it up to 9. Wow. Yeah, 9 shots. That's pretty good. Nothing to sneeze at there. And it's all your levy units. So if you're taking more than 1, that would be 18 shots, assuming they're full. Wow, that's decent. That's a decent number of shots, baby.
Yeah, which leads us to Die by the Bow, which is an action reaction ability. This takes either a common or an uncommon. May only be used only after an enemy unit has been activated for a movement, and before it has been moved. Activate for shooting all your levy units, targeting only the activated unit. If it suffers at least 1 casualty, reduce its movement from L to M, M to S, and S to very short. So this one's great, and it kind of pairs well with Con, is because Con kind of encourages you to tighten up, and Die by the Bow then gives you this really great advantage. If someone moves within the 12 inches of some levy, everyone gets to just lay down a hail of fire on the poor suckers.
Wow, that's amazing. That's really cool. So you have 2 abilities where you can activate all of your shooting, or it's just levy units again. So that's cool. So there's a couple things. You have to target that 1 unit, and then you get that extra little bonus there, a little kick in the teeth to drop their movement down by 2 inches. So that's juicy. That is juicy right there. So after you hit them with 18 shots, then on their turn when they go in, they have to take 8 more. Ugh. And then they get slowed down, so it's probably going to be a double activation. Ugh. Wow, that's good. That's decent. So you are usually using both these? Are these some of your favorites here?
Yeah, Con and Die by the Bow are some of the cornerstones, so I think that making the Steppe Tribes really work well is those two abilities in particular.
Okay, cool. Going on down to the Galloping Ghosts. If the target unit cannot draw line of sight to any table edge, ignore all terrain features and friendly units. Its armor is reduced by 2. So this is a common and it's a shooting ability. And I'm trying to picture this situation where you can use it, and I'm failing. I'm failing here.
The only real time you could use it is if you circled up around a unit. An enemy can't draw line of sight through your models, which also includes the 2-inch kind of gap in between them. So there's
okay, so it's friendly. Their friendly units, not your friendly units. Okay, so you just have to surround them with crazy step. That's cool. That's a cool cinematic type thing. I'm thinking of Total War games. I think there's an ability where they go and some light cav dudes can just run around in a circle shooting at people. That's cool. Reduce their armor by 2, so wow, that's big. So you'd hit warriors on 2+, Hearthguard on 3+. If you use that Red Skies thing, you could be really trickier too, maybe even. I don't even know. Do you get to use this a lot?
It's very situational, but when I have been able to use it, it usually works really well. I think I've taken out a warlord or 2 with this.
Ooh, yeah. Take them from a 6 to a 4. That would, yeah. And it's a lot easier to surround them too, because you would have to stay more than very short away. So if you have a big unit of guys, it's kind of hard for one unit of 6 dudes to surround somebody. But if it's just a single model, you could definitely do. Is it possible for a warlord to be completely surrounded by 6 guys?
Not by one unit. It usually requires 2 units to make this happen. One that kind of moves up and tries some pot shots at something and makes kind of half of a U, giving that very short distance away. And then a second unit usually comes in to kind of complete that.
Mm-hmm. That's cool. That's awesome. I don't know. I think if I played the tribes, I would try to make this happen, like, all the time, probably to my detriment. Do you find yourself doing that, or you kind of just keep an eye out maybe towards the late game when they're reduced down? It's a lot easier to surround them.
Yeah, it's really hard to make happen for whole units, and so it's usually like priest all off by his lonesome. Galloping Ghosts.
Nah, nice. Okay. That's badass. Finally, the Darkest Hour. The double rare. Here it is. The big kahuna. Mm-hmm. Okay, I'll let you do this one. I won't steal your thunder, buddy.
The Darkest Hour. Activate all units in your warband for a shooting. They will not generate any fatigue. During step 2 of these shootings, each unit will gain a number of attack dice equal to half those it generated. One is amazing.
Wow.
It's so good.
Yeah, that's 3 different ways to activate your levies for all their shots, but this one activates everybody else too after they already did all their shots. So you can basically do all your shenanigans, your shots, everything like that, plugging away at them, and then boom, we're gonna do it again.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, this one's just great. Like, it's a really great move everybody up, do a bunch of damage, because you're like all of your movement activation to get you into the best position. You're gonna get a shot at the end of that with your cavalry units. Your levy have a pretty good range. It's just a really good mid-tier, like mid-game to late game ability.
Mm-hmm. do you like? I know some abilities people would do this. Do you put down like a rare sometimes, and then save it up, and then try to get another rare in the following turns with this ability? Is that good?
Yeah, that's usually how I utilize it. Just to make sure that at any turn in which I have a spare rare dice after I've used Step People, one goes on Darkest Hour.
Mm-hmm. Okay. Yeah, that's cool. Yeah, that's awesome. So, as far as Warband Construction, we kind of talked about what they can take. So what have you found that works for you?
Yeah, I found that the 2 units of Levy are a really good solid fire base. And then you can kind of, at least a unit or 2 of warriors I think are great. We have a guy in our local area who runs a lot more Hearthguard, and only has 1 point of Levy, with some kind of mixed success there. Because the Hearthguard are a little bit more durable, but I just like the bodies. They're so crappy at combat and at shooting that they might as well just have more chances to roll dice.
The Hearthguard would get 1 shot per model versus the Warriors 2. But I guess mathematically it works out the same, and then they're a little bit more durable. But they would have 2 attacks in close combat then. Okay, that's cool. Now, one thing is we played a game, your Steppe Tribes versus, I think I was using Anglo-Danes maybe. That's Adepticon last year, I think. It's a little fuzzy. But I had a lot of fun. I think in a game that doesn't really reward shooting or really have that much of it, and to do an all-shooting warband would really potentially break the rules. I think they did a really, really good job of building this battle board, just with the additional activations, because any one shooting phase isn't really going to do hardly anything, but you're going in, you're plinking away there, you're getting a little extra bonuses here and there, and then with the Darkest Hour, you're doing it all again. With the die by the bow, the con abilities, you're just putting out so many arrows, so it really feels like what it probably would have been like to fight against them, where you just keep getting shot over and over, and you're trying to work your way in. Yeah, I have a lot of fun memories of our battle. So, as far as like the tactics and stuff, so how does that work? Because you got your abilities here, but each time you move, if you move in, move out, that's two dice already to kind of activate that unit, to go in and then move out of range and be safe. So do you kind of, what I'm picturing here is like half the warband is sitting and then the other half is darting in and then out and kind of shooting, or do you move stuff up? Although, yeah, I guess with that Steps ability, you can always leave one unit in range for that. I guess I'm trying to picture your battle plan now that we know all these abilities.
I think usually there's some amount of the army that's kind of left behind in reserves, and then you have 2 or 3 warrior units that are going up, doing some shots, maybe multiple shots and running away. But because the Steps ability is on that far left, you can have multiple dice on that field. So you can move up and then have like 2 quails on those units, and so you can move 2 different units if they choose to engage you.
Shit.
So I think that I've often in the early game activated units of warriors and had a couple out there, and then had a couple dice still sitting in the steps so that I could run up, do some shots, and then in a couple different places be able to run away, which could be really infuriating for an opponent, but really represents that whole shoot and then run away.
Yeah, I mean, I agree with what you're saying there. Thematically, it makes perfect sense. So it's going to take the enemy a lot of double activations to get in there, and then depending if you loaded up the steps or not, it might be for naught in the end. So one thing I can say is when you actually do get in there, it feels pretty good because you can kill a lot of them. because usually they're using deadly planes. So if you get into a unit of 6 warriors, they would have 6 attacks normally. So that would go to 3 attacks. So they're not going to do much to you. And then they're
armored 3.
Armored 3, basically. So you're gonna kill a bunch and not really suffer that much in return if you can get in there. So if you have to resort to triple activations to get them in, and you're taking all those fatigue. There's only just that one ability really that they can use your fatigue. Although once you're getting fatigue on your guys, you can't use their fatigue for shooting, so you probably actually use it for them, slow them down a lot. Is that what you end up doing?
Yep.
Yeah, so dropping the medium moves to short because you can't really burn it anyways. But okay, cool. Do you have fun playing this?
Yeah, I think
guys?
And it, like, particularly in the late game, you might not use deadly planes, but then your warlord just goes nuts. He just has a bunch of dudes falling behind, soaking up wounds, and he goes in there because he's still at his full armor and melee ability. So he's still going in, kicking butt like Kublai Khan.
Oh, good point. Yeah, that's cool. Yeah. Do you find your opponents have a fun game too? Do you have to like purposely let them catch a unit every once in a while to make them feel good, or?
Well, yeah, there's some scenarios where the Steppe Tribes do really poorly at, but doesn't make for a fun game. So, like Vikings players, where they're sacred ground against Steppe Tribes, the Vikings just go sit in the ground, and the Steppe Tribes can't really get in there without taking a bunch of fatigue and dying. So there's a couple scenarios that's really hard for the Steppe Tribes, and then there's some that are just stupid good for the Steppe Tribes. Yeah, so there's a little. I think the best match is when the Steppe Tribes are playing against a list that also has some cavalry and shooting. Other balanced lists, in terms of those options, make for really interesting games. So like Rust Princes, the Crusaders, the Saracens.
Maybe the Normans, maybe?
The Normans do really great against the Steppe Tribes. It's because they have that 24-inch shooting range. So
yeah.
They just blow them out of the water, and then the Knights can go up and charge them down real easy.
Cool. Yeah, that's a good point. That with the different scenarios out there, it's not just about killing the enemy all the time. And there is that scenario where you only get points for guys you kill in close combat. So yeah, I'm thinking that's another auto lose one there. Have you ever come close, Kev, on that one?
A little bit. I've tried where I've just tried to shoot down a bunch of dudes and then go in with the warlord. It's just as a train of warriors following the warlord, trying in that scenario, but it's really challenging.
Yeah, I guess if they can kill 0 of your guys and you manage to get a couple with the warlord, then you can win potentially that way. But okay, cool. Well, one thing I forgot to ask about the Normans, but what models do you use for your Steppe Tribes?
The Steppe Tribes, it's a mix of the Fireforge games, Mongol Cavalry, and their Steppe Warriors, which is their infantry box, alongside the Gripping Beast light cavalry box. So I kind of combined the two of those kits so that there was a little more variety, so I could represent like the Mongols that would have fought against some of the Saracens, and some Crusaders even. So that's the models that I use, kind of a Mongol force.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's true. You span quite a bit of history with the Steppe Tribes. It could be the Mongols in the late Crusades period, or it could be Attila the Hun, kind of like pre-Dark Ages, and the rules would be pretty much the same.
Turns out dudes on horses with bows, pretty similar.
Pretty similar across time. So, okay, cool. Any closing thoughts or ideas here, Kev, about the Steppe Tribes?
They're just a real fun list. And particularly if you play them in the right spirit and you let people catch them every once in a while, it can be real fun for your opponent too.
Yeah, I think this is a board that you really need to either play with or play against once, just to kind of really understand what the hell's going on here with everything. But yeah, it's definitely fun. I think it's super thematic, and I think they did a good job of balancing everything as best they could. So yeah, thanks for coming on here, Kev, talking Steppe Tribes, and yeah, we'll have you on some other time for some fun or something. I don't know. All right, check you later.
Yeah.
Well, that wraps up our review of the Steppe Tribes for Saga. Big thanks to Kevvy B for coming on and helping me out. I couldn't have done it without him. I learned a lot, and hopefully you did too. I got some juices flowing up here in this brain about these Steppe Tribes. And if you have any ideas, feedback, comments, anything we messed up, go ahead, drop that below, and we can chat about it further. Otherwise, like and favorite this shit. Share this with a friend. Subscribe. Become a hobby horn dog today. Saga!